what we're going to do is we're going to make a dirt hole set for a coyote.
Okay.
And we're going to knock some of this loose grass down for right now. So we're going to set our trap. Go ahead and set the trap for me.
Okay.
You may have to use your feet on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember how I showed you to come around under the loose jaw to pick up the pan? There you go. Good deal. Now let's get your shovel. We're going to dig you a hole for your trap. Remember, the first thing we got to do though is make that pan adjustment. So how did we do that? We push down right here. Watch that pan level up. And we got it just about level. Make that final adjustment right here. One finger underneath and one on top. And now we have it nice and level, okay?
Okay.
So now let's go ahead and we're going to put our lure right up here, our lure and bait, but we need to get our trap bedded. So let's go ahead and dig that out.
Okay.
See how big the trap is? Right there we go, right there. So go ahead and dig that hole out. Set your dirt back to the side. Okay. You can also use this hammer to kind of knock that dirt, kind of an outline like that, and then you can use your shovel to get that loose dirt out of there. You can kind of scoop that in there and just put that back behind. Okay. We can even take, after it's loosened up, you can kind of take your gloved hand and pull that back out too.
Okay.
Now let's make sure that the trap's going to fit. Not quite big enough yet, so we need to get these edges dug a little bit more. Just right where the springs are going to be.
Okay.
Now we need to get our stake in the ground and have that low spot right there. So let's get our stake, put that in there. Now how are we going to put that in? Put that in a ways, and then you got to take it and drive it.
Okay.
Yep, hold it with your hand. Okay. Now, one thing we need to remember to check is, can you pull that stake up? No, it's pretty firm. Okay, that way a coyote, when he gets caught, he won't pull that up and get away with it. Now, remember as we put this in, we're going to want this where it's nice and firm.
Okay.
So we're going to take some loose dirt, put it right back here in the bottom, and have, with this swivel in the bottom, you need kind of a hole for that chain and that swivel mechanism. Remember how we rock this back and forth, and so it's nice and firm when we're done.
Okay.
Now let's take your wax paper. What do we do next? You crumple it up. Crumple that up so it's not stiff. Crumple it up good. Now you can spread that back out over the pan. Be careful. Work from the sides here so it doesn't catch you. You can flatten that back out and make sure your fingers don't hit that pan, okay?
Okay.
And then remember, let's put a stick in here where it shows right where the center of that pan is going to be. And then we can get your loose dirt and start putting it in the sifter right over the top of it like that, okay? And that gets your dirt clods out of there so they're not in the corner of the trap. Now let's remember to take a stick and brush that off the sides, and then you can take your fingers and pack that loose dirt in around those jaws like that. Okay, let's get some more dirt now. Go ahead and scoop that back into there. Use both hands. Okay, now go ahead and sift some more dirt on it. Keep it down low. If it's windy and you're shaking it that high, all your dirt will blow away and you'll miss it completely.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, let's stop for a second. Take your stick and brush that loose dirt off, just like this. Remember, what we want is the only dirt that's going to be soft is going to be right over the pan. Everything else is going to be firm. Okay, let's put another layer of dirt over it. Hold it down a little lower. You can do your sifting right here, just like this. And see the sticks and the dirt clods? They're all staying in the pan. I'm going to take this and brush that off just a little bit more. Okay. I use the back of my hand while I'm brushing this away, because if the trap goes off, it pops your hand up and out of there. Don't do this with your, because your fingers will set that trap off. But if you use the back of your hand, you can do that like that. Now, we've almost got enough dirt on here. We can actually take this loose dirt and pull that back around and blend that in. And now our trap is finished on the bedding. Okay, so now here's our pan. I'm going to go ahead and expose this so we can see where the pan is at while we finish making our set. Right there's our pan. So now we're done with that. Now we're going to make a dirt hole, which is what we normally use for trapping a coyote. You can either use a rebar stake. Let me borrow one of your stakes right there, guys. Right there. We can either use a rebar stake and poke a hole in the ground like this, and see that kind of looks like a mouse hole right there. So when the coyote comes up, he's got to look down into that mouse hole. And if you have it at an angle like this, you see how the stake is? Well, a coyote, when he comes up from the back, he can't see in the hole. Or the fox or bobcat, he's got to come around to the front to look all the way to the bottom of the hole. So that rebar stake makes a good looking mouse hole that we can put our lure down in. And for a coyote, you got to think about how big the animal is. He's got his feet right here, his nose is up here looking down into the hole. So that's about 10 inches, 9 or 10 inches back from the hole to where the center of the pan is going to be. And then we'll put our lure down in here. You can either use that or you can take your shovel and dig a hole there. But in this case, we're just going to stick with our, what looks like a mouse or a gopher hole here. The animals are used to seeing that all along here. Maybe there's gophers or something out in the fields, right, and he's going to look down into that. Now we can take our lure, just a coyote lure here. One thing I like to try and do, guys, is I like to try and, I forgot right here, but I try and take my gloves off while I'm handling my lure. You notice I got just a little bit of lure right there on my finger already just by handling this jar. Well, I don't want that on my gloves, because the next time I go to handling that trap, that lure gets on the trap and then the coyote is focusing on this. So I want my lure, I'm going to get a little bit on the stick and I'm going to put it down in that hole just like that. And I'll put my lure, screw the cap back on, and I'll put it back into my bucket here. Now, in order to complete this set, we're going to go ahead and blend it all back in, and we can put just a little bit of stuff around behind here, not much, but just a little bit. See, that coyote, he won't come around behind and stand on this. He'll be standing out here in the loose dirt. We'll finish blending this in, and we'll take this back out, and that's a completed coyote set just like that. That's normally what we use for coyotes or foxes. If I was going to set this trap for a fox, here's our pan again, I would put my hole, my mouse hole, that close for a fox, because you think the animal's a lot smaller, so his nose is going to be closer to that hole as he's investigating this. That will also work, our coyote set right here will also work for bobcats and badgers and coyotes, and you're obviously going to catch possums and skunks right here too.